Hey everyone, this is Seth from the REtipster blog. Today I wanted to show you how to create a good real estate listing. And I'm going to be showing you how to do this in this program called Postlets. Most of you out there have probably heard of Postlets before, but if you haven't, you really need to look into it. It's a free resource and it does an awesome job of getting your property out into the public and out in front of a lot of different eyes because it syndicates with several different huge websites like Zillow and Trulia and all that stuff. You can kind of see it down here. And it also does a really good job of making your property listing look very good. The only thing that you need to do is to provide the right information in that listing in the form of pictures, video if you have it, information, a description of the property. And as long as you're able to do that along with pricing it right and getting it out in front of the right audiences, you should have absolutely no problem selling your property. Now before we get any further, just let me say, I realize that's probably easier said than done. It's not always easy to come up with the right information and get good pictures and really put that together in a very compelling, driving way. So today I'm going to show you an example of a vacant land property that is out in the middle of nowhere and we have very, very little information about it. And I'm going to show you how I go about finding more information, getting good pictures, putting together a good description, and really making this thing look as good as it can possibly look. And by the time we're done, I think you're going to agree this listing does not look bad at all. So let's get started. Now when you first get to Postlets, you're going to see a page that looks something like this. Once you log in, you're going to see this kind of a page, and we're going to go over here to create a postlet. And the interesting thing about this property is that it's a 35-acre parcel, but it's out in the middle of nowhere, and it actually doesn't even have a physical address associated with it. And when you're dealing with vacant land that's out in the middle of nowhere, this actually is not uncommon. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of make up an address based on the nearest street. And the nearest street is County Road 8 South. And they also force us to put in an address number, so we're just going to put that in there. And you'll see it's actually saying, can't find your address, so create one. So we're going to do that. Going to do it over again. And we're going to hit hide street number on Postlet because this actually is not a real address. We're just trying to, first of all, get Postlets to let us get through and then also let people know of the nearest street to it. Down here for the city, we're going to put Alamosa. And then state, we're going to hit Colorado. And 81101 is the zip code. And this is going to be for sale. And then we will save and continue. We're going to use unverified address. I'm just going to say wrong location and then hit save and continue. For this example, we're going to put Crossroads Land, and we're going to hide the email from the Postlet. We don't want people just getting a hold of us here for no reason. And then for the phone number, we're just going to put number in here and keep going forward. Now in this next section, we're just going to put a $15,000 asking price. It's going to be for sale by owner. It's already checked. And this is going to be land. And for the lot size, we're going to put 35 acres. And that's it. We got to go save and continue now. Now for the photos, I've got a few set aside here. So I'm going to go to this right here. And here they are. I'm just going to start uploading these one by one. Go grab another one. And just so you know, if you don't have any photos of your property and if you happen to live a long ways away and you can't get them, one way to get them would be to hire a realtor nearby. Just pay them, $40 or $50 to go take some pictures for you and ask them to send them to you via email, and that's really all you got to do. Sometimes you can even get them for free if the realtor feels like being nice to you. But if you want to, you can put some photo captions in here. Like just for example, this one will put view from road. You don't really have to, but it's just if you want to explain what people are looking at, that's one way to do it. Another thing that I always try to do, and I would recommend you do it as well if you can, is to include some parcel maps of the property. Especially if it's vacant land, because without a parcel map, people have absolutely no idea, where the property starts and where it ends and that kind of thing. So if you go over here to Agent Pro, the unfortunate thing is, in this particular case, this just doesn't give us a lot of information or data. I mean, we can't see any real parcel lines. I mean, we're just kind of looking at desert land, and that's not really that helpful. So another way to get this would be to go to the county website. And most county websites around the country have something like this, where you can actually get into a parcel mapping system. And I did that in this case, and when I typed in the parcel number of this property, this is what it showed me. And as you can see, this green area here is the property in question, and it's really just a big square lot. But if you sort of zoom out a little bit, you can start to get a better feel for what exactly is around this property. And it looks like it's sort of, surrounded by more square lots. And if you keep zooming out, you can kind of see, all right, here's a subdivision that's not too far away. If you zoom out further, you can kind of get a better feel for what's going on. But as you do this, and as you kind of go through this process, one thing that I always like to do is just take some screenshots of this exact thing that you're looking at. So on your keyboard, if you're using a PC, there is a button called Print Screen, and if you hit that, what it's going to do is literally just take a screenshot of this entire image. And then if you open up a program like Paint and then hit Control V, it's going to paste that exact image into Paint. And then all you have to do is hit the select button and kind of draw a square over where you want it to be, and then hit crop. And here we go. We've got an image now, and I'm going to save this as a JPEG, and we'll put this right in that same folder. Call this map 1. So we've just created one more picture, and then if we want to zoom back in, and we will try to get another screenshot of the same thing. Okay, we'll hit print screen again, go back into Paint, do the same process, hit Control V, and then draw a square around this, and crop it again, and then save this as map 2. Okay. Now one other thing you can do, and this can be a little tricky depending on how remote and difficult your property is to find, but I was able to find this property and I put a little pin by it in Google Earth. So I'm going to zoom in here and I can see it from way out here. Zoom right in. And you can kind of see here's that subdivision again, kind of looks familiar. And true to form, this thing is truly out in the middle of nowhere. But what you can do here is using your right and left mouse buttons and your Control and Shift button on your keyboard, you can kind of, get a better feel for what's going on by shifting it and sort of looking around to the horizon and getting some, just a feel for what is this property surrounded by, what's in the near vicinity. And, in this case, we've got, looks like some mountains over here. So if we sort of, allow the picture to load, we can get a good view of this. And we're going to zoom out. And what we're trying to show here is that this property is in the near vicinity of some mountains. So once we've got that in view, we're going to hit print screen again. And we're going to go back in here to Microsoft Paint. Paste this picture here. And let's see here. Do the same crop thing. Crop that. And we're going to save this picture as a new one. Okay, there we go. Now if we go back to Google Earth, we can do, yet another one if we want to, just to give a, another perspective for where the mountains are in relation to the property. So I'll try to zoom in here. Go back to Paint, go through this process again. Save this as a fourth image. Okay. So I think this is enough stuff to work with. So we're going to go back here into Postlets now, and we're going to upload these other files. Let's do map 1, map 2, map 3, map 4, and we'll just call this one, parcel map. Down here we'll say mountains nearby, that kind of thing. And that's really all you got to do. We've got 8 pictures now. That's pretty good. Gives people a pretty decent feel for what this property is all about, what it's going to look like. Now the last thing we have to do is go over here to the description, and the description can be pretty important, especially depending on where you post it and that kind of thing. And this is where I'm going to mention a little tool that I put together, which is available on the REtipster blog. It's called the Headlines and Listings Pack. And really I'll just open this up to kind of show you what it looks like. Once you download this zip file, this is what you're going to find inside it. And what this consists of is some pretty important things when it comes to what you're saying about the property, because the words that you use and the ways that you describe it can really have a huge impact, and it can help the buyer to really see themselves in that property and realize what it is that they're getting. A crucial thing to keep in mind when you're trying to sell real estate, and particularly when you're trying to sell vacant land, is that a lot of times what you're selling is a dream. A lot of these people will buy vacant land and they won't even necessarily do anything with it. They just love the idea of buying vacant land. And so you really want to play off that and really help your buyers to see themselves in this property. And that's kind of what I've put together here with this Headlines and Listings Pack. I know from experience that it is not always easy to figure out, what is it you're supposed to say? I mean, how creative do you need to get? How do you make a property sound enticing? And I've spent a lot of years trying to perfect this and get this down to a science. And what I've got here are basically 10 examples of words that you can use, phrases you can put together, and you don't necessarily have to copy these word for word, though you're welcome to. The idea is just to give you an example of what you could possibly say or how you could piece things together so that a property sounds really cool. And the way that you do that, first of all, is with some attention-grabbing headlines. And headlines are hugely important, especially in forums like Craigslist or Backpage, because a lot of times that's all they're going to see of your property. And the only thing that's going to make them click on it is if your headline says something that catches their attention. That's what I've got here, just a PDF filled with a bunch of different attention-grabbing headlines that you can see there. And then I've also got 180 proven powerful adjectives that you can use to describe properties. And these are some pretty powerful words that you can use to insert into your ads just to make your property sound really appealing to people. Essentially what you can do is just copy and paste the most applicable words from here. Anything that you think sounds cool, just copy it and paste it into the body of your description. And that's what I'll show you next. In this example right here, I'm basically just going to highlight this and copy and paste it. Right here I've got an example of what it would look like if you wanted to insert your own adjectives and like that. And down here it's the exact same thing, but I've actually inserted some adjectives for you just to show you this is what it could look like. Just to show you, if you take this ad copy and then finish it out, this is what it could look like. So I'm just going to take what I copied here and we're going to paste it into the body of our ad. And then in the headline area, I'm going to put this title here. And all I got to do is enter in, what it is. And we'll just say 35 acres for how much? And, as you can imagine, this kind of a title is not usually what you see when you're scrolling through Craigslist. So this is the kind of thing that can really catch somebody's attention. So there's an example of one of the 30, attention-grabbing headlines. And then right here, all we would have to do is kind of go through here and fill in the words that make the most sense for this property. So this is your chance to own a massive and then property website URL. If you happen to have a real estate website that has another listing of this with more information, you can always put that in there. And none of this stuff applies in our situation because we're talking about vacant land, but if it applies to you, you would just fill that in accordingly. And then we'll hit save and continue. And here we go. This is kind of, you can just ignore this thing right here. When you go down to promote Postlet, you can click on this link and it's going to show you what it looks like. And here's our ad so far. If you click on this, you can see the property photos that we uploaded, and these ones here as well. And as you can see, it's it's a pretty decent listing. It's not bad at all, especially considering that we had really almost no information to work with, including no address, no pictures. Couldn't even really find where it was. I mean, if you just kind of know where to look and where to start, and how to get pictures and all of that, It's really not impossible, and it's not even really that difficult. It's just a matter of knowing where to go. So hopefully this is helpful. This is how you use that headlines and listings pack, which again is available on the REtipster blog. And this is how you use Postlets. Since I've been using Postlets, they've kind of changed the format around a little bit. So depending on when you're watching this and if they've made any changes, it could be a slightly different setup, but as of the time of this recording, that is how you do it. Hopefully this was helpful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I wish you all the best with your property listings. Good luck.